For quite some time, Ketradora made the cartoon community run crazy. There's just something about toxic friendships getting a happy ending that's weirdly appealing. For that reason, Sashan has also caused some controversy over the past few years. Now what if I told you the two relationships are almost the same? In this video, we'll be comparing the two duos to see how similar they actually are, while also highlighting their most striking differences. Obviously, in this comparison, Anne is equivalent to Adora, while Sasha is counterpart to Catra. I don't want to say their names 1,420,069 times, so we'll call the former Team A and the latter Team B when addressing the similarities between the counterparts. When comparing the show's duos with each other, I'm going to use the names of their ships. Alright, let's start at the very beginning. Both Sashan and Ketradora grew up together, having been best friends ever since childhood. And the stories behind their friendships are somewhat similar too. In both cases, one of the girls protected the other. On their first meeting, Sasha saved Anne and Marcy from older bullies, giving rise to their friendship. Conversely, when they were kids, Catra had a hard time dealing with Shadow Weaver, but fortunately always had Adora by her side, who consoled and appreciated her, and not seldomly shielded her from Shadow Weaver's abuse. Based on these past experiences, Catra is in fact surprisingly insecure inside and easily hurt, in contrast to her outer behavior. And of course, in contrast to Sasha, who has a massive ego through and through, which is an enormously important difference between the two. Concerning their general conduct though, Team B carries an overall tendency to be violent and easily irritated, often lashing out on others. And they don't stop there, unfortunately. Over the course of both shows, up until the characters' turning points, Team B is disgustingly toxic towards Team A. That's why the B stands for bitch. That behavior already began way in the past, before the show's canon events officially kicked off. Despite all that, Team A and Team B were content with the status quo, wishing their days would always continue this way, which evidently they don't. Due to some plot points, Team A is separated from Team B, and when they reunite, the life they've known so far is no more. As a consequence of these circumstances, Team B split itself from Team A, believing Team A to be at fault entirely for ruining their beautiful friendship. In both cases, Team B's reaction is over the top, though admittedly, while Anne was really not to blame at all for anything, Adora did leave Catra, not explaining properly why she's suddenly joining the enemy they had been fighting all this time. So Catra is indeed quite relatable in this situation. In Amphibia, the breakup is more severe than in She-Ra. Sasha straight up tries to murder Anne's friends and Anne herself. Catra does not do so when the breakup becomes official, so to say. Well, at least not at that point. She attempts to murder them way later. But yeah, Team B wanting to murder Team A plus friends is another unpleasant similarity. Over the course of the subsequent months, Team A does not lose faith in Team B and their friendship, incessantly trying to re-establish contact and to make things right. As a reaction, Team B keeps pushing Team A away, completely unwilling to make amends and to listen. However, due to their own evil schemes, Team B later on finds themselves needing Team A for some reason. Consequently, Team B deceives Team A by pretending to have undergone some sudden change of heart that drives them to rekindle the lost flame of friendship. Good-natured as they are, Team A takes full course on falling deep into the trap, so that their friendship ends up in an even bigger shambles than before. For example, Catra and Adora meet each other again in the episode The Promise. Catra acts all nice towards Adora, and they even cooperate to overcome the defenses of the First One's temple. Towards the end of the very same episode, Catra is reminded of all the reasons why she's secretly been jealous of Adora all this time and can't keep up the act anymore, revealing her true thoughts. In Amphibia, Sasha lies to Anne about having understood where she has gone wrong and apologizes, all with the goal of getting close to King keeping Andreas in mind to overthrow him, put the Toad Army in power. This is also the point when Anne finally snaps, pledging that their friendship, that Sasha, is officially beyond saving. It's quite safe to say that the extreme anger, disappointment and hurt Anne feels in that moment do indeed get considerably close to hate, especially considering the fact that she has been betrayed several times so far and all circumstances pointing at Sasha never changing for the good. Now, Adora on the other side also had her own moment of this kind, which needs to be viewed in a different light however. After Catra ignored every warning and opened the hall's portal, thereby ripping a huge hole into space-time, Catra lashes out on Adora for ruining her life, literally blaming her for every single bad thing that has ever happened to her, and particularly for Catra deciding to destroy the entire universe. That Adora does not take, arguing that she did not just make Catra pull the lever, and is generally not to blame for Catra being miserable when she tried getting through to her time over time. So Team A shares that they begin defending themselves against Team B's abuse at one point. Yet, while Anne temporarily feels she is done with Sasha for good, Adora swears to Catra that she never even once hated her. She might have been angry, but she never experienced true resentment, according to herself. On the contrary, Team B constantly holds a lot of hate for everyone and everything, with special emphasis on the newfound friends of Team A. This obviously stems from their jealousy. Jealousy that Team A seemingly prefers their new friends over Team B, despite only knowing the new guys for a very short time. In Catradora's case, Catra is particularly non-understanding, given that Adora knows the princesses for a couple of hours when deciding to stick with them. And in Amphibia, Sasha is visibly confused by Anne choosing actual frogs over her. Interestingly, Team B later gets along well with Team A's friends too. As soon as they do, letting their true selves show, Team B is revealed to be funny, quirky at times, even wholesome under their previously hardcore shell. Their likability probably more than doubles after officially joining the gang that goes on to save the world. Speaking of that, if I had $1 for every time some cartoon main characters went to space to fight an evil hive mind wanting to dominate the multiverse, I'd have $2, which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened twice, not to mention that both duos used rainbow magic. And in the end, Team A steps up to sacrifice themselves in order to save the universe. By then, Team B has developed enough. First, they are begging Team A not to do it, because after they finally found the way back to each other, they do not want to be separated from Team A again. Ultimately, they let Team A have their way, because they learn to trust Team A. The only difference here is that Sasha lets Anne sacrifice herself and returns to safety, whereas Catra decides to stay by Adora, possibly sacrificing herself too. Though that difference may only be due to the plot, considering that the secret spell from Amphibia can only be performed by one person, making it impossible for Sasha or Marcy to support Anne in her sacrifice. Oh, and I forgot, at some point during their journey, Team A and Team B share a very gay dancing scene. On top of that, the bigger lesbian from the two duos winds up cutting their hair. Eventually, the gayness becomes canon for Catradora. In contrast, only Sasha is confirmed to be bisexual, while Anne's sexuality has never been addressed. And of course, Sashan, the actual ship, is not canon, apart from the fact that it's obviously ridiculously inferior to Marsan. But that's just my opinion. In the end, what can we say about the counterparts and the two relationships? All in all, Sashan and Catradora are strikingly similar. The few differences in their relationship mostly stem from the slight differences in the characters' personalities, or even just the plot. I think Catradora is just unconsciously viewed in a different light than Sashan, because love is actually involved, making some of the girls' behavior a little more understandable, and maybe even more painful. Though, as objectively as I can manage to judge, I tend to say Sasha is overall the worst person in comparison to Catra, and hurts Anne mentally in many different ways. While between Catra and Todora, there has always basically been the same issue at heart. Ultimately, both relationships are far from perfect, but definitely entertaining for the audience, and they occupy important parts of their respective shows. Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want more cartoon and anime content uploaded directly to your feed.